So on this video, I'm just going to really work through these 4 problems. So starting off with this sentence, or this problem, it says a larger number is 5 more than twice a smaller number. I can tell that this sentence is going to be an equation. And for the most part, an equation happens within one sentence. So the next sentence says their sum is, so talking about the larger and the smaller number, the sum of them is 80. So that's another equation. So I need to find the numbers. Okay, so let's start off with this first one, the first sentence. A larger number is, so we don't know what the larger number is, so we're going to write L for the larger number equals 5 more than twice a smaller number. So think about it maybe this way. L is twice the smaller number. Is that true? Not exactly. It's close to true. It's 5 more than twice the smaller number. So we need to take that 2 times the smaller number and add 5 to it. So the larger number is 5 more than twice the smaller number. The next sentence says their sum is 80. So their sum meaning the smaller number and the larger number added together is 80. So the large plus the small is 80. Their sum meaning added, is 80. So now from here we can find the numbers. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use what they call substitution. I'm going to take this equation which says that L is 2s plus 5. So these are the same things. 2s plus 5 is L. So over here, instead of writing L, I'm going to write the exact same equation. So plus s equals 80. And instead of writing this L here, this says that L is 2s plus 5. So I'm going to write 2s plus 5. Ooh, that's pretty awful writing. So I'm going to write 2s plus 5. Still awful writing. But the point is L is 2s plus 5. And the way we know that is from right here. It says L is 2s plus 5. So instead of writing L, I'm writing what L is, 2s plus 5. Plus s. So ultimately I have 2 s's plus another s here. So that's 3s. And my s's look a lot like 5, so I apologize for that. Plus 5 equals 80. Now I can solve. So I'm going to subtract 5 from each side. So I have 3s equals 75. And then I'm going to divide by 3 and solve for s. So I'm going to get s is 25. Okay, so now that I have s is my smaller number. So I have the size of my smaller number. If I want my larger number, so I do because it says find the numbers, I'm going to take that smaller number and plug it in to where it says L is. And I'm going to substitute my 25 in for my s. So I have 2 s's. So 2 s's. S is 25 plus 5. So my large number is 2 times 25, that's 50, plus 5, so that's 55. So there are my numbers, large and small. Okay, next question. Similarly, we're going to look for sentences where we can gather information. So it says, as part of their volunteer, I don't know what I got volunteer, oh here it is. As part of their government class, Maddie and Ryan had to log volunteer hours in their community. Okay, so that's not an equation, that's just information. Ryan volunteered for 1 more than 3 times. Okay, this is starting to sound like an equation. So here's one equation. Ryan volunteered for 1 more than 3 times the number of hours that Maddie did. Okay, so Ryan volunteered. So that's saying the number of hours that Ryan volunteered is equal to, Ryan volunteered for, what does it equal? 1 more than 3 times the number of hours that Maddie did. So I'm going to start with this 3 times the numbers that Maddie did. So Ryan is 3 times what Maddie did, but a little bit more than that. Ryan volunteered 1 more than 3 times what Maddie did. So 1 more than 3 times what Maddie did. So Ryan is 3 times what Maddie did plus 1. Altogether, that means they're going to be added. So Maddie and Ryan's together, altogether, they volunteered in their community for 45 hours. So Ryan plus Maddie equals 45. So here's my 2 equations. Again, right here, this is telling me that Ryan equals 3 times Maddie plus 1. So 3 times Maddie plus 1 also equals Ryan. So instead of writing on this equation Ryan, I'm going to write 3 Maddie plus 1, 3m plus 1. And the reason I'm going to do that is, notice right now there's 2 variables here, and right here there's 2 variables. So watch what happens when I take 3m plus 1, instead of writing r, I put that. So I'm going to put 3m plus 1 plus m is 45. So notice I just replaced r with 3m plus 1. r is this, same thing. Now notice I only have m's, and this is what's going to make my equation solvable. So I'm going to have m equals a solid number. So altogether I have 3m's plus m, so I have 4m plus 1 is 45. I'm going to subtract 1 from each side, so I'm going to have 4m is 44, and then I'm going to divide by 4, and I'm going to have m is 11. Okay, so that's what Maddie did. Maddie did 11 hours. So if I want to find out what Ryan did, so the question is how many hours did Ryan volunteer? So I have Maddie's, but I'm going to use Maddie's over here to find out what Ryan did. Ryan did 3 times what Maddie did plus 1. So here's what Maddie did. So Ryan did 3 times what Maddie did, which is 11, plus 1. So Ryan did 3 times 11, which is 33 plus 1. That's 34. So Ryan equals 34 hours. Okay, next question. I'm running out of space, but trying to do my best. A rectangle has a length 6 inches less than twice its width, okay? If the perimeter of the rectangle is 54 inches, find the dimensions. Okay, so dimensions just means find the length and the width. So here's one equation, the first sentence, and here's the second equation, second sentence. Okay, so let's start off with perimeter. So we're talking about a rectangle. A rectangle has width and length, and you guys know perimeter is just the distance all the way around a rectangle. So it has a width here, a length, another width, and another length. So I have 2 widths and 2 lengths is the distance all the way around my rectangle. So I have 2 widths plus 2 lengths equals my perimeter. But it says if the perimeter of the rectangle is 54. So we know the perimeter, it's 54. So 2 widths plus 2 lengths all the way around is going to equal 54. So there's one equation from my second sentence. Now let's look at this first sentence. A rectangle has a length that is, and I just put that as there, but like a rectangle has a length 6 inches less than twice its width. So what it's saying is that the length is 6 inches less than twice its width. Okay, so I'm going to start off by, so that less than, again, I mentioned this before, I'm going to switch what's over here and what's here. So I'm going to write the twice its width first. So the length is twice its width? Not exactly. The length is 6 inches less than twice its width. So the length is twice its width minus 6. 6 inches less than or off of twice its width. So here's my 2 equations. Again, I'm going to take this, and it says length is 2 widths minus 6, and I'm going to substitute it in for my L right here. So here's the equation again. 2w plus 2, and my L is going to be 2w minus 6 equals 54. So now I just multiply it all through. So notice my 2 in front of the 2L is still here. My L is being replaced by what L is. L is 2w minus 6. L is 2w minus 6. So I'm just replacing my L with 2w minus 6. I'm going to distribute. So I have 2w plus 2 times 2w is 4w. Positive 2 minus 6 is going to be negative 12. Positive 2 times negative 6. Okay. Equals 54. I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have 6 w's. I'm going to just write it over here. 6w minus 12 is 54. I'm going to add 12 to each side to get rid of the minus 12. So I'm going to have 6w equals 66. Then I'm going to divide by 6 on each side. So I'm going to have w equals 11. Now that's the width of the rectangle, so we just solved for this part. Now I'm going to solve for the length. So I'm going to take my w equals 11, and I'm going to use this equation right here. And it says that the length, I'll just turn this over very quickly. Length is 2 width minus 6. So length is 2 width minus 6, and I know that the width is 11, so I'm going to plug that in right here. So we have length is 2, width is 11, so 2 width minus 6. So 2 times 11 is 22 minus 6, so that's going to be 16. Length is 16. So length and width. And we're talking about the rectangle. So it's saying that this is 16 and this is 11. And just to check, 16 plus 16 plus 11 plus 11, sure enough, equals 54. Okay, so next question and last question. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so it says the sum of two consecutive odd numbers is 148. So we don't know what the numbers are, so that's where we use a variable. So we have, let's say a is one number, and then if I want consecutive means just one after another. So examples of two consecutive odd numbers would be like, here's some odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Those are all odd and they're consecutive because they're one after another. So like if I say 5, what's the next odd number? 7. So that's what consecutive means. So odd, of course, is not even. And so here's the trick with this problem. And I've already explained this in class, so I should probably stop explaining so much. But if a is some odd number, then to get the next odd number, I need to just do a plus 2. So notice again, with all these faint numbers here, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, we're all 2 apart from each other. So if I take any odd number, a, and I add 2 to it, then I'm going to have the next consecutive odd number. So it says the sum of two consecutive odd numbers is. So that means I need to add, sum meaning add, a plus, I'm going to put this one in parentheses just so you guys can understand. Here's my first number, here's my second number. And when I add them together, it is 148. So I need to solve this now. I have a plus a, so that's 2a, combining like terms, plus 2 is 148. If I subtract 2 from both sides, I have 2a is 146. And then I divide by 2, I'm going to have a is 73. So if a is 73, so my two consecutive numbers, so if a is 73, then a plus 2 is going to be 75. And those are my two consecutive odd numbers, 73 then 75. And let's make sure, 73 plus 75 does equal 148. So I know that those are the correct consecutive odd numbers.